grab a big fat two-hander. And then grab another one because Fury in Dragonflight has received kind of an overhaul for the talents. Not really an overhaul, but a lot of things changed. So many things that we had to make a video and talk about what is going on with Warrior and Fury to start with in Dragonflight. Now that we have beta and we can test so many more things. So if this is something that you had your eyes on going further and seeing exactly what is going on with Fury, Warrior and Dragonflight, well, you've come to the right place because this is what we're going to be talking about today. But before we go into that, if you love our content and you like the kind of stuff that we do, daily videos and coverages with anything that's going on so far in Dragonflight related to specs and classes and all that and more in the future, consider supporting us on the Patreon that we have just underneath the video. There's a link to our Patreon page. You can find a couple of tiers with a couple of goodies depending on what you're interested in and how generous you feel. We would super appreciate any kind of support whatsoever because it does go a long way into making us able to do this for a living and be able to do daily videos with beta classes, tier lists, podcasts, and class guides, not to mention the streams as well. Everything goes into this. So thank you, dear patrons, for supporting the content so far, and for anybody who is interested in supporting us a little bit more, we gratefully appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now let's actually talk about Warrior, and we have to start off with the general talent tree that has seen maybe the most amount of changes for Warrior. And things are gone, and you might be dismayed, but let's start with the fact that Battle Stance is gone. I was on the camp of getting excited about stance dancing, although they said that they don't want stance dancing, but they want relevant stances for relevant situations. Taking Battle Stance out, it seemed like from the blue post that they made that they are still open to putting it back, but they wanted to feel like Berserker Stance is for Fury and Battle Stance is for arms. So Battle Stance is gone, and now you already start with Berserker Stance, and you can still get Defensive Stance for the defensive purposes as well, and you'll probably still talent into it because it does go into some important talents, which I'm gonna mention in a second. First of all, if you go on the left-hand side from Berserker Stance, you get Berserker Rage, which is pretty cool, and you also get Berserker Shout, which I can see this becoming really interesting in specific raid encounters. This might actually bring Warrior on into the raids. Obviously, this is good for PvP as well, because what a Berserker Shout essentially does, it removes fear effects from group members within 12 yards. Now, we are no strangers to fear mechanics in raids, and usually fear mechanics in raids can last for quite a bit, sometimes in dungeons as well. Very specific, very niche, but hey, if you don't need it, you can always get the Piercing Howl, which is on a choice node with it. And as you go down this path, you will definitely want Honed Reflexes, which is still a thing. I think it was lower down the list in the talent tree last time that we've looked at this. And then you'll definitely want Crushing Force, which makes Slam deal an additional 30% damage and has a 7.5% increased critical strike chance. Mostly if you do play a specific talent that we will go over when we get to the Fury talents as well. And also the reason why you want all this is because you'll definitely want Honed Reflexes, since it reduces the cooldown of Raging Blow and the cooldown of Pommel as well. And 1 second can mean a thing, can mean a lot of things for a fast-paced spec like Fury. And further down from Crushing Force, although if you don't play the Slam build, you can indeed get one of the side nodes, you'll probably still go to Reinforced Plates. There's different paths, and the freedom of choosing these nodes is actually really good, because from Reinforced Plates you'll definitely want to go all the way down to the talent tree. First of all, it will unlock either if you go through this or from the Bitter Immunity, which was previously a capstone, or kind of like a capstone, you'll get to Frothing Berserker. And Frothing Berserker has been a core Fury mechanic for a long time, and it's really good. And either you go through Reinforced Plates or through Bitter Immunity, you'll definitely get Frothing Berserker, because you'll also most likely want Armored to the Teeth, since from this one out, you'll probably get your most ideal capstone, which is Avatar, that goes into one of the 2 choice nodes for a capstone: Memory of a Tormented Berserker or Memory of a Tormented Titan. Memory of a Tormented Berserker makes activating Avatar or Recklessness cast the other one at reduced effectiveness, and the Titan one makes activating Avatar cast Odin's Fury, and activating Odin's Fury casts Avatar at a reduced effectiveness. Obviously, Odin's Fury is not cast at reduced effectiveness since it is a 45-second cooldown. Now, personally, it depends exactly on what the playstyle that you want. I really enjoy Odin's Fury, so I would probably take the Titan, considering that you can get Avatar every 45 seconds when Odin's Fury comes off cooldown, faster than you would get it through Recklessness, although, you know, you do have Avatar and Recklessness that are both 1.5 minute cooldowns and are arguably stronger than Odin's Fury, but we will see exactly what is going to happen once we can actually sim, although, because numbers are still gonna be up for grabs. War Machine is also something that you're going to be interested in, and now it's a very central choice node. You can get to it from all sides. You'll probably get to it from Berserker Stance, and it unlocks both sides of the talent tree depending on exactly on what you would like, and War Machine is probably going to be a crucial talent that you will take. You might be interested in Heroic Leap because Heroic Leap has received a nice upgrade in a choice node just underneath it where you can get Wrenching Impact. And what Wrenching Impact does is as you leap onto the ground, you will pull all enemies within 10 yards to the center of the leap. And who doesn't like more grips and pulls and stuff like that? The area of effect is particularly smaller than the Sigil of Chains of Vengeance Demon Hunter, which was a smaller version of Gorfien's Grasp from Blood Decay. So we see these like small nerfs here and there. It's a nice addition, it's nice utility. It's good that they don't keep it as competitive as it would be with the other classes, because, you know, they deserve their little grips. But if you do want that, and also it will increase the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 45 seconds, so it will be a legit utility cooldown. It won't be a mobility anymore, although you can use it for mobility, or you can, you know, always go to Bounding Stride if you don't need the pull in type thing. And if you keep going down, you'll go through a lot of, you know, generic talents that we had before, and you'll get to Thunderous Roar, which last time I criticized quite a bit. It has been improved since then. So right now Thunderous Roar is a 1.5 minute cooldown that explodes in AoE damage around you. Doesn't seem to be target capped, so I'm not sure exactly how, because if it's not target capped, then this is going to be very strong, because what it does, it explodes for a lot of damage, and then it does another portion of its damage around in 8 seconds. So it deals 160% attack power damage instantly and 160% attack power over 8 seconds in kind of a bleed type dot thing. It is a bleed, so that's pretty good. And the reason why Thunderous Roar is also can potentially be very competitive is because of the two choice nodes. It's actually not a choice node, but it's the two upgrades that you can get as capstones, which you can get both of them. So you would have Uproar, which is new, makes Thunderous Roar cooldown reduced by 30 seconds, which if you take Anger Management, and you'll probably will, it will essentially align with Avatar if you do take Avatar, or you can take, or on top of it, you can also take Thunderous Words. Increase the duration of Thunderous Roar bleed effect by 2 seconds and increases damage of your bleed effects by 20%. So this can act as a lot of burst damage. It's so much burst damage, man. It's so fucking good. I actually like Thunderous Roar right now, which I guess it's supposed to replace Dragon's Roar if you haven't watched our previous Fury video. So there you have it. And of course, if you go down from the defensive stance, you'll get a lot of utility and out of defensive. Rallying Cry with the choice node of Inspiring Presence and Second Wind, which you might go this route or come down from all the way from War Machine to get Furious Blows. So it's nice that Furious Blows is accessible to both of these paths, and you're not forced into defensive if you don't really want to, but you're probably going to take Rallying Cry since it's a very, very good group utility, group defensive. But Furious Blows is probably something that you're going to be interested in, especially if you play one-handed Fury, since there's a lot of attack damage buffers. Not to mention, it obviously works really well with Berserker Stance. And further down the list, you have Overwhelming Rage, which increases Fury by 30, and that is pretty good. I mean, it makes so your rampage windows are a little bit more calculated, a little bit more let's say, versatile, since you will not be forced as much into being within that little particular window. Now, on further down the list, you'll get Sidearm. Like all the other options around this have been talked about in the previous Fury video, but you will still get Sidearm, and this was a Fury talent, and now it's in the general talent tree. It's really fun. It's something that I always run with. It's it's hilarious, okay? It's hilarious. But outside of that, most of the things we've already mentioned before. There is one other thing, is that Shockwave also got another capstone, and again, you can choose both of them, and this could also make Shockwave a little bit more competitive, and I'm talking about Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom makes Shockwave deal 350% increased damage and will always critical strike. And currently Shockwave deals damage to all enemies in a frontal cone. So again, not AoE capped and will always critical strike. So I think they've kind of baked the old Dragon's Roar mechanic into Shockwave, which I guess is good because it's a really nice utility and you would have never have picked it otherwise. With the exception that now you can also get Rumbling Earth that reduces its cooldown, so you can have this burst of damage the entire time. Although it does feel like it's really out of the way. So, because you would probably still want Elysium Decree. I'm sorry, because you would still want Spear of Bastion with Piercing Verdict as a capstone and Elysian Might also as a capstone that were prior to this choice nodes. You can actually have both, making Spear of Bastion really good. So there's a lot of competitiveness in the capstones, and I'm not sure because all of them are actually really cool. Right now with Sonic Boom being into Shockwave and Thunderous Roar being awesome, like all of them are cool. Obviously, I would imagine that Avatar and Spear Bastion will be BIS pretty much in all situations, while the other two will be more situational or niche. I can see Shockwave in dungeons. You would have to probably give up some damage if you want to take Shockwave, but I mean, you might not have to give up that much damage considering that Shockwave will probably become a, what, 25-second cooldown if you use it in AoE? That's not that bad, I don't think. So it comes down again to simming, and we will see how that plays out. And in the actual Fury talent tree, we have fewer new things, but a lot of things have been moved around and have made it a little bit more accessible. I think just looking overall, we have a reduction in the amount of points, the amount of 2-point nodes. So we just have like 1 point here, 1 point there, 1 point everywhere else. First of all, Siege Breaker is gone. Bye-bye, no more Siege Breaker. They made a blue post talking about the fact that Siege Breaker felt like an arms mechanic, and it kind of did, because it debuffed the enemies to take more damage from you, and it's a lot of people particularly didn't find that interesting. I didn't really mind it. It was either way, it was not an interesting ability. Yeah, it felt like Colossus Smash, right? Not as in-depth as Colossus Smash, but yeah, I can see where they're coming from with this, and even though it's gone, I don't think a lot of people are gonna miss it. And with that, a lot of talents have been repositioned. First of all, one big thing that we mentioned before, Annihilator, which is the bottom left capstone, they mentioned that they wanted to work with two-handers, and I don't know about that. I mean, if they will make it work with two-handers, I don't know if you're gonna be playing one-handers anymore. Sure, there's a bunch of talents that factor into one-handed playstyle. Annihilator would have been the core essentials, like, oh, okay, I can play one-handed Fury, single-minded Fury with this, but if they make it available for two-handers, it's going to be really good. Mostly because, first of all, going to it, you get Storm of Swords, and Storm of Swords will make Whirlwind and Slam hit way harder, but also have a cooldown, and Slam will generate Rage. And the cooldown that it will have will be hasted, and since Fury has been using haste for the longest time, that wouldn't be a surprising stat that you will stack anyway. And because you will add Slam to your rotation, which from the current tuning, although this can change, Slam is probably going to be way better than Raging Blow in terms of priority. So you'll likely always want to press, even if you do take the Raging Blow talent, you'll likely always want to press Slam on cooldown. And of course, because if you're adding another generator to your rotation on top of everything else, you have fewer globals to spare before you actually get to spend into a rampage, meaning that, you know, casting Raging Blows is going to overcrowd your rotation, let's say, considering that, you know, if you even play stuff like Reckless Abandon, you'll have 3 charges of Raging Blow, and it's a lot, So taking Raging Blow out of your rotation with Annihilator will free you up to do stuff like Slam, like Whirlwinds, like maybe, who even knows, Onslaught, and we'll get to that in a second. Without actually going away from the left-hand side of the talent tree, Vicious Contempt will unlock now a choice node that has the prior Blood Craze, or at least the mechanic. I don't know where Blood Craze was before because the icon was changed. But anyway, Blood Craze makes Bloodthirst increase the critical strike chance of your next Bloodthirst by 10%, stacking up to 5 times. This is like the bad luck protection, so you can get those in rages. Although once again, I'm not sure how many Bloodthirsts you'll cast. Sure, you can talent into a lot of Bloodthirst talents and have it a part of your rotation. And even more so, you might want Annihilator with this, because normally you just spam a lot of Raging Blows, right? And you wouldn't have as many globals to spend on back-to-back Bloodthirsts to stack this Blood Craze up. So taking Raging Blow out of the rotation might make this really good. So once again, Annihilator could be both. And Skull Banner made it to Fury as well, and Skull Banner is a 3-minute cooldown. You throw down a Skull Banner at your feet, empowering your allies, increasing critical strike damage by 20% for all party members within 20 yards of the banner. That's a big fat buff, and it's not particularly out of the way. It is on a fairly competitive, let's say, side of the talent, so I'm not sure exactly how this will turn out and how valuable it'll be, but it is a lot of crit damage, so I don't know if you're ever not gonna take it. And Cadence of Fujiera, which is legendary right now, that was a talent that moved around a little bit, now is gone. Odin's Fury also has slight changes. First of all, it unlocks a capstone that now has Dancing Blades as one of the choices, which makes Odin's Fury increase your auto attack speed by 30% for 10 seconds. And there's one placeholder one that hasn't yet been talked about. With this, they talked that they will look into iterating on the capstones for Odin's Furies and Ravager, because Ravager is all the way on the other side of the talent tree, and although it's so far away, I do want to talk about it right now. It goes into Storm of Steel, which was changed from increasing the duration of Ravager to what Storm of Steel is now, making Ravager deal half of the damage but have 2 charges. I'm not sure if that's a decent trade-off, because these charges do not regenerate independently in terms of their cooldown to compensate for the damage loss. I think this is kind of a nerf. It might give you more burst, but I mean, you have 2 Ravages and each deals half of the damage of the other one. So I guess this would just mean more rage generation, because the rage generation hasn't been nerfed. But I mean, do you really care about a little bit more rage generation, considering how many rage generation tools you have? So I don't know. I feel like this should be buffed to something like, I don't know, 75%, not even, maybe even more, 80% of the original Ravager's damage to feel like an upgrade, because it doesn't really feel like an upgrade. It feels like a, let's change how this works. And capstones kind of add instead of change, and some of them add and change, clearly. The opposition is Hurricane, which was Gathering Storm, which is an old name, but Hurricane now makes Ravager give you 5% movement speed and 5% strength every second of stack, and it stacks and it lasts 6 seconds. Now, if you have a lot of haste, obviously this proc will stack up quicker, and it's really good. And I can definitely see Hurricane out surpassing Storm of Steel a lot more, because right now Ravager will have a 1.5 minute cooldown, which was raised from what it was before, probably to compensate or to justify Storm of Steel, that I'm not particularly a fan of. We'll see. Ravager can deal decent amounts of damage, but I don't think you'll ever take Storm of Steel in this situation. I could be wrong, we'll see. I mentioned Onslaught before, which was moved to be kind of a capstone. Onslaught now is next to Ravager and unlocks Pulverize, which was a talent in the middle side of the talent tree. I don't know if they moved it here to kind of be in line with the others in terms of power, but I don't know how powerful this is. Basically, Onslaught enrages you, and Enrage now lasts 1 second longer. This is good, but it's subjective, because Enrage lasting 1 second longer is debatable, considering that with decent amount of gear, you'll be able to maintain Enrage for quite a bit, maybe even 100% uptime, considering the kind of playstyles that you can get right now. So the increased duration of Enrage might not be that great. Onslaught enraging you kind of falls in the same category, although Onslaught deals a decent amount of damage. I feel like Pulverize can buff Onslaught a little bit more, since it has been a talent for a while and we still haven't used it in years. And also Massacre made it into the talent tree that I don't know what it replaced. It replaced something that's gone now. Oh, and before I forget, also on the Annihilator discussion, Slaughtering Strikes is a new talent that I feel might be a little bit under the radar. So what it makes Raging Blow and Annihilator cause every strike of your next rampage deal 10% additional damage or an additional 3% damage stacking up to 5 times. This kind of makes my point because let's say in an ideal world you would want to cast 5 Raging Blows to get the full value out of Slaughtering Strikes, which is unlikely to happen. You don't have 5 globals before you can actually rampage to get the full value of your rotation. So I don't know how this will work with Raging Blow. Maybe you will need to have an updated tooltip that can make every, I don't know, 3 Raging Blows get the max value out of Slaughtering Strikes as opposed to 5. Because Annihilator is clearly going to proc it probably faster because you're just attacking with both of your weapons, and it should probably proc from each weapon attack, each weapon swing, which is going to be good. And to kind of close it off, Unbridled Ferocity is now also a capstone. I think it replaced Hack and Slash, which was, I don't know why we had that as a capstone. But Unbridled Ferocity makes Rampage have a 20% chance to grant Recklessness for 4 seconds, which is great. And this makes Fury complete with, oh, by the way, yeah, I remember, Titan's Grip has gone and I think it has been replaced by Massacre. That's it. Right now, Fury is almost complete in terms of a spec. Judging from the blue post that they said, they're happy with how Fury is. They might iterate on a couple of things, maybe the capstones that I mentioned, and they will go on to tune the spec because right now it fucking slaps, dude. What do you think about Fury? It completely changed my mind about what Fury is because I was always a big ARMS fanboy. Now Fury is looking legit, dude. It's looking legit with a lot of core playstyles and a lot of depth that I don't think Fury has seen either ever or at least in a long time. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you want to support us a little bit more and check what we do and, you know, give a little back, consider becoming one of our patrons in the link down below. Love to the current patrons for making the content possible, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.